Hi everyone, good to see you all again. So I'm Ayesha and I'm from the Upper Hopkins Land Management Group, and my collaborator is Deirdre Murphy, who's the Regional Citizen Science Project Officer for the Corangamite Management Authority. And so we had a really simple project of developing a citizen science program in the Upper Hopkins with a couple of local school groups. So it's hard to believe that it's been 8 months since we first got together in Warrnambool and met our mentors. It's been a really quick journey in a really long year. And if we've learned anything this year, it's that you should always start with why when it comes to initiating a project. The what is easy, the how is tangible, but the why is always a bit trickier. So there's two types of why. First of all is our personal why. So Deirdre and I both have some specialist knowledge. She has a background in the citizen science programs, whereas I'm a freshwater ecologist with expertise in water bugs. And because we have this specialist knowledge, we want to share it with others, and we want to create a community of good stewards to take care of the environment. And we're both looking forward to a brighter future with more people involved in the care of the environment.
Yes, and getting kids out on the water, on the land and beside the water is important. This project aims to create a community of good stewards by connecting people, catchments and waterways. As a mentor, I've got some on-ground knowledge around citizen science programs in the region, and I can help Ayesha because she's got such a strong background in the area as well. I'm going to help her tap into resources and make a program that's useful for more than just local kids. And also introduce her to the River Detectives Freshwater Education Program. So we started mapping a plan.
So the what was quite simple. It was to create a cool citizen science experience for local school kids. We really wanted it to be fun. We really wanted it to be engaging. Super simple idea, just do some water quality monitoring, do some bug sampling, so that I could get to know the schools, the students could get to know me as their local land care facilitator, and we could all get to know the catchment together. So I had experience doing this back in New Mexico before I moved to back home to Australia, and I figured Deirdre was just the gal to help me along the way. So as we like to say, there was no need to reinvent the wheel when I had Deirdre to help me change the tyre. But then the pandemic sent us all home and away from our community.
Yeah, it was a real whirlpool of confusion and uncertainty, you know, certainly from the beginning. But yeah, Ayesha, she likened it to a roller coaster.
Yeah, I like to think that there's lots of ups and downs as we adjusted to the restrictions and isolation. And a roller coaster is exciting and terrifying, but it does have a start and it does have an end. And hopefully we can get off this ride soon. So we had to develop a B, and we had lots of plan Bs. Every 2 weeks when we met on the phone, there was a new plan B. So we could focus on National Water Week, or we could reschedule the school visit, or we could create a land care event outside of the school. Or maybe I could do online classes, but then I had to decide whether it was Zoom or Google or WebEx or Microsoft Teams or Google Meet. Or if students could collect their own water samples, and I could create videos and at-home learning activities. Had lots of ideas. And then we started thinking about the data I already had, so we could connect with Saltwatch and River Detectives, and it was just really exciting with all of these ideas. But meanwhile, in reality, this is what it looked like at home. There was a fair bit of mayhem. And I was constantly jumping around from grade 3 maths to online webinars to trying to figure out meetings and site visits and writing reports and all of the usual stuff that I had to do. And so I was feeling very disjointed. And I realized that other families, the families that I was trying to get to know, were all in the same boat. So of course our kids and us adults were all spending way too much time on the screens, and we're all going a bit loopy. And delivering a citizen science program online was becoming less and less appealing and less realistic. So it was time to stop planning and thinking up new ideas and realize that we had to draw a line in the sand somewhere and rethink what was actually possible this year. So I did get out with a couple of local citizen scientists, my own children, and they helped me. Here on the left, you can see Paloma with the regional water quality monitoring that we do quarterly through the Land Care group. And she's wearing one of the high-vis vests that I'd bought for the primary school students that I was meant to be doing a citizen science program with. Looks great on her, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And then on the right, we went down to our backyard, down to the Hopkins River, and we did a little bit of a water bug blitz and did some fish surveys, and we started collecting data, probably the first data on what biology is in the river that's been collected this century in the Hopkins. Wow. Here you can see Paloma with a beautiful flathead gudgeon, huge. And Imogen's helping measure some fish as well. So we took the bug samples back to the lab/kitchen and did some experimenting with how to teach kids about different types of water bugs, although these are pretty good guinea pigs who've been exposed to this stuff a few times now. But it did give me an opportunity to start building an image collection of local invertebrates. And I also was starting to work on some handouts and data sheets for the citizen science program. So this all made me reflect back to our beginnings in Warrnambool. And Corey introduced us to this image of pools joined by a run or riffle. And now I've noticed this same sort of imagery in a lot of different Indigenous art. And I thought this was a good metaphor for our plan, and you all know I love metaphors. We thought we could just canoe from one pool downstream to the next because we had a really good plan and we were both pretty experienced.
But it's never that easy. Sometimes the river dries up.
And sometimes it becomes a waterfall.
Yeah. And sometimes it's an unexpected diversion. It might lead to an unexpected pool. Or you might get reconnected to your original destination.
So I think we're stuck in a bit of a dry reach at the moment, but I am optimistic that it will rain again and the river will flow and we'll eventually reach our destination. So even though I didn't get to deliver a citizen science program yet, we are successful, and not least because the waterway twinning program has been invaluable for building a network for me. So not that long ago, this was what my network looked like in Australia. So here I am in my pre-COVID isolation bubble. And then waterway twinning introduced me to Deirdre and all of the twinners in the 2020 cohort. And I've been really fortunate to get to know all of these beautiful, wonderful, smart people and really build my network. And with their support, they introduced me to more people across Southeastern Australia who were able to provide great information or resources, and sometimes just a chat and a bit of a chinwag, getting to know what they're doing and what's happening in the region. And this has been incredibly useful for me, and I've learned so much from them. And the whole situation has also forced me to get over the hurdle. I hate making phone calls and picking up the phone and making that phone call, and it's really forced me to strengthen myself, brace myself, and get down and do it.
Yeah, and that's all part of that networking, isn't it, Ayesha? The network allows us to share the message and tell the story, but we come back to the why. Because others are like us and many want to share their specialist knowledge, and they also have a goal of community stewardship too. Networks provide the additional help, advice, content and resourcing that is needed to start up these type of citizen science programs.
So another great outcome from this program has been all of the incidental learning. All of the things that Deirdre taught me that were completely unexpected. And just listening to the stories this morning from the other twinners, I think this is happening in a lot of partnerships. And even though they may not be directly related to the project we started with, there's going to be some great long-term outcomes. So in our conversations that were roving and far-reaching, we started thinking about risk management and what forms I needed and getting high-vis vests and first aid kits and all of those sort of things. Deirdre explained to me the whole EC5 program and applications and what that means for the CMA. I learned a lot of the grammar of the Victorian government and what all that means and how to work out that tangled web. And basically, I just learned how to change a tyre. Hopefully Deirdre learned something too.
Yeah, well, let's look at that big picture. It's an experience that will resonate with others and it should be shared. It's demonstrated the skills developed in a mentorship can be, put into our workplaces, and that we should engage and share our learnings in our networks. Our mentorship partnership was set up to reach the goal of developing a freshwater citizen science program for local schools in the Upper Hopkins, with success in networking, learning and mentoring. And along the way, we've learned about change and adaptation throughout the twinning program. And I've got to say, we've embraced the TED Talk. So thanks, Shuan, for that. In particular, I really liked Fiona Kerr's presentation, How Leaders Change Brains and Win Hearts. And that's where trust, empathy, engagement and connection were shared in our mentorship. And hence, we're all changing each other's brains. Yeah. So thanks to the Twinning is Winning team and our colleagues for their leadership and their help along the way.
And I'd particularly like to thank Jan and Shuan for inviting me to participate, and a big thank you to Deirdre for being such an engaging and active mentor.